In this video, let us see the top 10 bizarre, unusual, death related facts. So, number 10, Edison's dying breath. So, bizarre fact was Thomas Edison's dying breath was captured in a bottle. What is that? Thomas Alva Edison's dying breath was captured in a bottle. The fact. How? Let us see. Thomas Edison, the well known inventor who perfected the modern light bulb, was friends with Henry Ford, founder of the Motor Company, and considered to be a father modern assembly lines. As Edison lay dying, Ford convinced his son Charles to fill a bottle with Edison's dying breath. Charles complied by bottling some of the air in the room, and bottle is on display at the Henry Ford Museum in Greenford, Michigan. Number 9, Echo Burial. The bizarre unusual fact was a Swedish company will pulverize your body and bury it in a cornstarch urn, providing a completely biodegradable burial. Shortly after your death, within 1.5 weeks, your corpse is frozen to minus 18 degrees Celsius, 64 degree Fahrenheit, causing the body to become very brittle. It is then subjected to vibrations that render you a frozen powder. This powder is then placed in a vacuum tube which extracts all the water, resulting in a dry powder. The powder is then put through a metal separator, which removes fillings and other metal objects that have become a part of your body over your lifetime. Number 8, Sky Burial. Bizarre fact is Tibetan Buddhists cut and beat a dead body, including bones, to a pulp and leave the results for vultures to eat. As Tibetan Buddhists believe in reincarnation, they consider the dead body to be an empty vessel that has no further use in life except as food for nature. Coupled with the very hard rocky ground in Tibet, sky burial seemed the most effective method of disposal. While accounts differ slightly from burial to burial, common features exist. Tibetan monks cut the limbs of the body and hack them to pieces. Each piece is handed to an assistant who bashes it to a pulp with the rocks and then mixes it with barley flour, tea, and egg butter. This is then left for the vultures. In some places, the vultures are so eager to eat that the monks have to beat them off with the sticks until they are ready to feed them. Number 7, Dance of Death. Bizarre fact is in Madagascar, people dig up the bones of their loved ones and dance with them. Each year, the Malagasy people of Madagascar perform a funeral tradition called Famadihana. The ceremony involves the digging up of the bones of loved ones, dressing them in new clothing, and dancing with them around the tomb to live music. The custom is surprisingly not especially ancient, and the Catholic Church permits it because it is not a religious but rather a cultural custom. Number 6, Deadly Portrait. Bizarre fact is the Victorians photographed their dead because they could seldom afford a picture of them alive. So, photography was still relatively new in the Victorian era, and the difficulty in staying still long enough for a high quality photograph and the extremely high price of a painted portrait meant that many Victorians would have a photograph taken of a loved one after they died as a memento. This practice also meant that photographs could be sent to distant relatives who may never have met a young child who died. Number 5. Sin Eater. Bizarre fact is ancient British people employed a sin eater to eat the sins of the dead. In ancient England, Scotland, and Wales, each village had a member, usually a beggar, who was designated sin eater. When a person died in the village, the sin eater would be called into their home. A relative would place a loaf of bread on the chest of the dead and pass a cup of ale to the sin eater across it. The sin eater would drink the ale and eat the bread, thereby eating the sins of the dead person. Strange sin eater. Number 4. Towers of Silence. Bizarre fact is Zoroastrians bury their dead in circular towers to avoid the demon of the dead. Zoroastrian tradition says that a dead body is unclean and that the evil corpse demon would rush to a dead body to contaminate it and anything else it came it to contact with. For this reason, the Zoroastrians built towers with a roof containing the three concentric rings, one for men, one for women, and one for children, on which they would place the dead bodies until they were completely destroyed by birds and sun. Number 3. Soap people. The bizarre fact is some humans turn into soap after they die. In a process known as saponification, some human bodies turn partly or completely into soap. The fatty tissue of the body, along with other liquids from putrefaction, slowly form into lumps of adipose. This happens to both embalmed and non-embalmed bodies. It is especially common in people with large fat deposits in their bodies prior to death. Number 2. To space and beyond. Bizarre fact is it is now possible to be buried in space. A company called Memorial Space Flights will now launch your loved one's cremated remains into outer space for a fee. In addition, they will provide you with a memorial service and an excellent spot from which to watch the rocket launch off with the remains. Because of the high price involved in each launch, the company only launches a small portion of the remains. The rest of the ashes are scattered to sea if you wish. Once your loved one is in space, you can go online to view the location of the rocket as it travels in its permanent orbit around the Earth. The company offers a variety of different services to suit your budget. Brief orbit and return to Earth at $695. Permanent orbit around Earth $2,495. Launch to surface of the moon $1,000 and launch into deep space $12,500. So coming to space and beyond. So next thing is number 1. Life Gems. Bizarre fact is an American company will take your remains and turn them into a diamond that can be used by your loved ones. The company uses the cremated remains of you or a pet to create synthetic diamonds, which range in weight and price. A full human body can provide sufficient carbon to make up to 51 carat diamonds, which cost around $14,000 each. After the carbon from the corpse is purified, it is converted to graphite, which is then used in the synthetic diamond process. So, these are the top 10 bizarre death related facts which happened in the history.